CO2 is an interactive, real-time, living data visualization. Using gamification, we have developed a short-term interactive piece which aims to make a comment on the internet itself. It is, of course, very important to be very energy conscious in this day and age, and people are always told about how much energy they're wasting by doing things like leaving lights on, televisions, or boiling too much water in their kettles. But people don't really ever think of how much it costs for the privilege to use something like Facebook or to search on Google. The internet is estimated to be the cause of 830 billion kilograms of CO2 each year. This is roughly the same amount as a Boeing 747 jet travelling to the moon and back 36,000 times. CO2 dynamically shows people what they individually contribute in grams of carbon dioxide to the environment when they spend time on a small selection of the most used websites in the world.
CO2 uses gamification to help encourage interaction. 3 people are given a section of the world each from the living map we created. Their use of the internet is tracked over a short period of time via a Chrome extension. The CO2 usage is tallied up in real time and shown to them in the browser, comparing the impact over the others in the leaderboard. This data is then also used in real time to damage the living environment and the data visualization. We will now take you through the process we took from conceptualization to completion of the CO2 experiment.
We decided to build to an A2 scale, starting out by looking at a lot of different maps. We wanted to try and create an abstract map of what that we could then build. We made a small 3D sketch to the scale of how the map would eventually be made before we started anything physical. We began by drawing out the world map in paper with simple versions of the continents. These were then cut out ready for us to use them as stencils to build the real map.
Working here in the workshop in Brunel Labs, using some scrap wood and our paper stencils, we copied the continent shapes out. The wood was then cut down and sanded to a smooth finish to create a thicker wooden block for each of the continents. We brought some sheets of 3mm translucent acrylic that were then cut down into 2-inch strips for the sides of the continents. These were then used to mould the final acrylic 3D continent shapes. This was all an incredibly long process, as we had to heat the strips of plastic until they were really malleable, and then wrap them carefully around our wooden continent shapes. Some of these involved using multiple strips of acrylic due to their length. It then needed to be held carefully in place for a while until the plastic cooled to form a solid shape. This had to be done for all the different bends of each continent shape, slowly and carefully to stop it from lifting or buckling at any bend. After all the bending was finished and each continent shape was formed, all the joins were then glued together using dichloromethane cartilage, a plastic cement which draws the 2 acrylic pieces together through capillary action. This was then left for 24 hours to dry.
After gluing all the sides of continents, we then added translucent silicone sealant to all the edges to try and waterproof each section. It was also a time-consuming process as each time we glued or sealed we had to wait 24 hours for this to dry. We then tested how watertight each part was. We knew it would have to stand up to constant water pressure, and so had to thoroughly test. There were a few small leaks. This then involved drying it out, refilling it, and then waiting for the sealant to dry before we could test it again. The final finished map then needed populating. We put the crest in to fill the land, and then sand and water to create the sea, adding a blue dye to create a greater contrast and a more coloured ocean.
For the real-time data feeds, the main source of interaction for the user was a Chrome extension that we developed for the browser. We chose to track 7 most popular Western websites, each one with a customised tracking system, from counting how many searches a user does on Google or Yahoo, to how many minutes they spend on a website like Facebook or LinkedIn, also how many times they individually tweet. The Chrome extension communicates using MQTT to a Node-RED server, which talks to our Arduinos that are controlling the map. They get their and the other users' individual feedback in real time while they use the internet, with a leaderboard of each person and their total CO2 output.
In the physical world, the CO2 experiment drips salt rain down onto the living world map based on live tracking data. This slowly kills off the crest. Each person is given a single or multiple continents, and their use of the internet tracked with the Chrome extension only affects rainfall of that area. The system is controlled with 3 Arduino microcontrollers, each with their own dedicated servo. The Arduinos subscribe to an MQTT broker, which is published to live and independently by a Node-RED server.
The servos close and create a pinch valve, stopping any rainfall automatically when the users are not using the internet. It opens once the user has reached a minimum threshold, letting through a small amount of the water. This runs through an irrigation system that spreads it across the correct continent. This runs continuously while the user goes on the internet, and it runs 24 hours a day for several days, gathering data on their internet usage. It informs them of the CO2 output they produced over that relatively short period of time through the damage they do to the living world they're given responsibility over.
We ran the project over a day using ourselves as the subject. I was responsible for Eurasia, Aaron was responsible for Africa and Australia, and Chris was responsible for North and South America. Today I had to travel to Birmingham, and so was not able to connect to the internet as much as the others, which is reflected in Eurasia being the most healthy looking continent. Though even with a minimal amount of time spent online, I was responsible for a total of 46 grams of carbon dioxide, whereas as you can see the Americas, Australia and Africa are much more damaged, with Chris producing 224 grams and Aaron producing 268 grams. The experiment was a success, and it encouraged us to think a bit more about our online usage, especially with things like time wasted on Facebook when we don't need to, and over-reliance on Google searches. It made us think and rethink how we use the internet and what impact we may have together.